We live in a time where motivation is glorified. Everywhere you look, someone is urging you to find your spark, to wait for inspiration, to ride the wave of excitement. But what happens when that spark doesn't come? What happens when you wake up and feel nothing, no drive, no energy, just the weight of your responsibilities pressing down on you? That's when discipline becomes your anchor. The ancient Stoics understood this far better than modern culture often does. They didn't wait for motivation to act. They understood that waiting on emotions to decide your direction is unreliable because emotions change, motivation fades, and inspiration is not something you can depend on. Instead, they chose something far more powerful: self-mastery through consistent, disciplined action. Marcus Aurelius, in the stillness of early mornings, would remind himself, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I have to go to work as a human being.'" That's not a motivational quote to get you hyped. That's a cold, clear call to action. Discipline is not about being hard on yourself, it's about being honest. It's about aligning your daily actions with your highest values even when it's difficult, especially when it's difficult. Motivation is a mood, a temporary wave that might lift you for a moment but can vanish the next. If you base your life on it, you're building on something that constantly shifts. Discipline, though, it's the structure, the repetition, the commitment you make and keep regardless of how you feel. Epictetus, once a slave and later a revered teacher, said, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" That's not a plea for passion, it's a demand for consistency. The Stoics didn't preach waiting for the perfect moment. They lived each day with deliberate intention. They trained their minds not to seek ease, but to seek strength. Discipline begins with that kind of clarity, knowing what truly matters and committing to it daily. Without a clear aim, your energy gets scattered. Seneca said, "If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." If you don't know your deeper why, you'll give up the moment the journey gets uncomfortable. And it will get uncomfortable. That's the truth. But the Stoics believed discomfort was not something to avoid, it was something to embrace. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself over and over, "You were born to endure." Whether it's a cold morning, a hard task, or the silence of solitude, these are not obstacles. They're training. Every time you act in spite of discomfort, you're shaping a stronger mind, a more resilient character. This is not about extreme sacrifice. It's about building small, repeatable moments of strength, getting up on time, writing when it's hard, saying no when it would be easier to give in. Discipline is not glamorous. It's not loud. It's quiet and steady. It doesn't shout, it shows, and what it gives you is something motivation can't: freedom. Freedom from being controlled by how you feel. Freedom from the chaos of inconsistency. Freedom to build a life with intention. Discipline becomes your compass when everything else is noise. It's the steady hand that steers you when the wind changes. So, if you're tired of starting over every time your motivation fades, stop relying on it. Build structure around what matters. Be deliberate. Be consistent. Show up even when it's boring, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially then, that's when growth happens. Not when it's easy, but when you persist anyway. That's the real power of discipline, and that's what the Stoics knew all along.